Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, with the Major 4 qualifiers beginning in just a few days' time. Some further information on what might be going on right now within the OpTic Texas camp. After some seemingly intermittent scrim practice these last few days, it seems like there's some speculation, for understandable reasons as well, that Prolute may have been recalled to the starting team. Does this mean iLLeY is out for the rest of the season? No guarantees as yet, but as of right now, it seems like a reasonable possibility. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Plenty to dive into today. Firstly, thought this was rather funny. Really, Gizmo trying to chase around Envoy unsuccessfully at that. This just wanted to mention a few interesting statistics. Firstly, on the clutch side, honestly, the top 5 players in terms of clutches so far this season, thanks to round 11 stats for this one, are all, well, they're from 3 different teams, 2 of which, of course, accuracy is going to be up there as is insight. Simp is actually here as well, 5 1v2s and 1 1v3. But accuracy tops a lot with 6 1v2s this season and 2 1v3s as well. Insight right behind him. Bance and Simp rounding out the list makes a fair bit of sense. This just wanted to mention also Skinny formally pointed this out to me, because earlier today we looked at the fact that it seemed like Theory was kind of still, for some reason, subbing into the team in Search and Destroy in that kind of scrim that Temp seemed to leak up against the Florida Mutineers, where Dave Panny was on the team for some reason alongside Major Maniac, Skies and Awakening in what seemed to be kind of a 4 AR setup. Now, the Skinny formal reminded me of something here, which I think maybe I heard about a while ago, is that when they do the scrims nowadays, they don't necessarily just do them on their kind of own servers. They do them on like the CDL servers, which potentially means you need a CDL account to do that. Now, if that was the case for this particular scrim, then that would explain why potentially Johnny was on Theory's account and then potentially 2Real was on Dave Panny's account, because maybe they don't have CDL accounts yet, which is a plausible explanation. So just thought I'd mention that, which it might explain what we saw earlier on today, but I'm sure we'll see what Florida and Paris decide to do respectively over the coming days as well. Now look, we've got to talk about this OpTic situation and what is going down right now, because Clayster, of course, this past weekend came second in, what was it, the 12th Challengers Cup with Prolute on his team, right? Prolute, Fellow and Brack, plus Prolute, plus Clayster. That was the team of 4. And as he says, Lolly, you might as well call us the 13th CDL team at this point. New team today, stream live in a bit. Kind of saying, especially the 13th CDL team, saying that, okay, lots of his players are either going to the Pro League, coming from the Pro League, or whatever the case might be, but basically saying, yes, we've made a team change. Now, this was confirmed shortly afterwards, not necessarily to be Prolute as of recording, but certainly that Capstell is the man coming into the team from the Boston side, rumoured to be replaced by Vivid. And just as I finished recording, I saw this, so I thought I'd just chuck it in right here, that Mutineers have officially confirmed, very relevant to the topic of the day, that yes, Vivid will be gone from the Mutineers and be joining potentially another team as well. Well, it's certainly going to be Boston in replace of Capstell, as we just saw. So yes, Mutineers confirming Vivid is gone. Kind of remarkable, to be honest, that they're going to do this. Of course, I imagine we're going to get updates probably later tonight or whatever, like who's going to be replacing Vivid, and also what's going to happen on the Boston Breach side. But yeah, I'll more than likely cover that tomorrow morning, because this whole iLLeY speculation is certainly a big story as well. And actually, just as I was rendering the video, here we go from Boston then confirming that is exactly the case. The Capstell will become the substitute player for the Boston Breach, and Vivid will be in the starting team. Kenyan, as they say, Capstell remains a part of our long-term plan in the CDL. Rather interesting way to phrase this. I do kind of like to believe Boston as an org that they do kind of think the Capstell is a long-term part of their future, but it's kind of tough to say what they believe that might be, because if they feel like, of course, Vivid and Nero are going to be the SMG duo, then where exactly does Capstell fit in their long-term vision? Either like it's just their long-term plan to sell him on, which it might be a reasonable plan as well. But yes, Vivid is in with Nero as their SMG duo. That is the current confirmation that we have. Capstell is on the bench, of course. Now, well, for now, who knows what happens over the next couple of weeks, because Boston, they're kind of well, touch and go, let's just say, in terms of them actually making it through to the World Championship. If they don't look so good, does Capstell come in place of Nero? Maybe, but I certainly think Vivid upgrades this SMG line, and I'm honestly impressed that Boston made this move so quickly, given that he was off Florida Mutineers, and yeah, they brought him in quickly, and I think they've made a great move here, and certainly this is more of an upgrade than Florida's change is going to be, at least in my opinion. Now, with Capstell coming in, to our understanding, it's not Fellow that's gone, it's not Brack that is gone, it's almost certainly Prolute that is gone, who of course was on this team, placing second in the cup. So that's the big question. Why has Prolute left this team? Let's say he is going back to Texas, as it seems like he is. We'll see here in a second. Like, if he's not getting recalled to the OpTic team, why would he leave the Challenger squadron? Let's say he needs to be in Texas for whatever content, or just to be there to potentially sub into the roster, just in case anything happens. Like, he wouldn't necessarily have to leave his Challengers team to do that. Now, this is what was noticed here, because Prolute put on his Instagram story the following image, which looks exactly like this. So as you can see, it's Byron on his story 6 hours ago, at least as of this was taken, probably about 8 hours or so as of now, but effectively this morning, Prolute was taking a flight from American Airlines Newark Liberty International Airport, and you can see a few details in this image right here. Gate 38 is of note. Also on the left-hand side, you can see this kind of JetBlue kind of, well, trailer thing here that tugs out the plane, or whatever this thing exactly does. But yes, JetBlue operated plane. You can even see it on this thing down here. It says JetBlue on the side as well. And yeah, near gate 38. Now, people, of course, went into detective mode on this one. Mr. Math comes up with this one, looks into the departures for American Airlines out of this airport, operated by JetBlue, finding an airport or finding a plane that departs pretty much, I think, every few hours from Terminal 37, I think it is, or 36, depending on the one, effectively to Dallas Fort Worth Airport as well. So this is kind of the details that are being looked at here. It's classic Reddit detectives, but for good reason. Gate 38, American Airlines, this particular airport, and then JetBlue. Now, I found this flight. This might be the flight. It might be the one slightly before this one, but this certainly makes sense. This is JetBlue Airways B6 operating American Airlines flight 1603 from Newark to Dallas Fort Worth, departing at around about the time that makes sense for Prolute's Instagram story, also departing from gate 37, which of course, you'd imagine in this image, he's looking at his gate to the next gate, and if he's at gate 37, he might be looking at gate 38, right? So look, it's classic detective situation, but more than likely, this might have been the flight that he was on from Newark over to Dallas Fort Worth, rejoining the team potentially, right? And Fellow does say in reply to this, right, that Clayster's tweet was about when Two-Wheel was on our team, but I think maybe he's just trying to cover for the fact that the Clayster leaked this, just because Clayster did literally confirm, as we looked at, that it's Cap still joining. And so does kind of Clayster's team account as well, saying that, yeah, Cap still joining the team as well. So like, I don't really know what Fellow's getting at there, but I thought I mentioned it anyway. And even as Sean Collins says, who says that he's kind of got an update on this over the coming days, says that what OpTic's going through right now is very common in traditional sports. When a team wants a player back as fast as possible, then it requires a full recovery. Re-injury can often make things worse. So look, we shall see how it goes, but there is good reason to believe, at least on the present evidence that I've just shared with you guys, what we know right now, that Prolute is back in Texas and has left his Challengers team. And if that's the case, then what other explanation for that is there than he's coming back in for iLLeY, especially if their kind of scrims the last few days on the OpTic side have been rather intermittent, as we've kind of heard and seen with other things going on. If that is the case, of course, feel horrible for iLLeY, like if there's been a further issue and it's still hurting him, right, and if he's of course had the procedure and it's not fixed it, then of course that raises questions as to what's going to happen for the rest of this season, right? If Prolute's going to be back in, what does it mean for OpTic? So more to discuss on this in the coming days. Don't want to speculate further than this at this point, because that's all we know. We don't have official confirmation, and all can still change, or this could be a red herring or whatever. But leave your thoughts in the comment section below for sure. Now, before we close out the video, I definitely wanted to kind of go to the other part of the substitute equation, which is not just Prolute's being on the sub bench, but also none other than Jordan in general. These were some rather interesting stats as well. 8 in 2 in hardpoint so far this season on Gavutu, 6 in 0 in control. One of these, of course, was up against FaZe in that kind of grand final series where there was the disconnect or whatever, and they probably should have lost it, but they won it anyway on the replayed round 5. But as it turns out, they're still 6 in 0 undefeated on Gavutu control. Interestingly enough, though, they pretty much always ban Gavutu control. They rarely play it against anyone nowadays. They just play Tuscan and Berlin, and they don't really seem to like playing it at all on either game mode really at the moment. Hardpoint a bit more than control, but still thought it was rather interesting given how good they are theoretically on this map. Maybe it's not been so good for them in scrims as of late, for example. But yeah, I wanted to discuss the General situation. I'll show a clip here actually from Rambo where he talks about General and says that, okay, General's a great player, really valuable piece to a team, but it just doesn't fit our team dynamic at all. Didn't really like it, wasn't the perfect piece at all to kind of sub in for iLLeY when he was out. Works more, first of all, better as a main AR, but also much better as in a situation where he's kind of the player you're building around, the in-game leader on the team, and that really isn't what OpTic needed in this situation.
Again, Jordan is a great player as well. I think it's just he's the kind of player that you build a team around, not the kind of player that you insert into a team to fill out a position. Like, he's an IGL, he's intellectual, he understands things, communicates a lot. So you put him in a team that have players that really need that kind of aspect around him, around themselves. Like, he's going to be an incredible asset to a team. But given our position and what we needed, not really what we needed.
So to me, this does raise a rather interesting question about kind of what the future is for General and the sub-bench and OpTic, because, I mean, look, let's say in an ideal world, Prolute maybe comes back in for the rest of the season, I don't know, and then, like, okay, iLLeY's fine, like, he's had the surgery or whatever he needs, who knows what's going to happen. But anyway, let's say Prolute is no longer required on this team next year, iLLeY's back in the team full-time, it's all sunshine and rainbows, and Prolute can go elsewhere, like Florida or some other team, picks up Prolute, goes into next year and, has good success with him, because I think they would probably let him go if the, push came to shove effectively, and some other team wanted to give Prolute an offer. offer. Now, if that doesn't happen for General, does General stay there as the sub next year? Because Rambo's eventually saying that, like, there's no real situation where General is a good fit as a substitute for this OpTic team, right? And if he's not a good fit as a substitute, why would he be on the bench? Yes, OpTic is, you know, kind of a family organization. He's been there a few years. He subbed in briefly on the Huntsmen when they needed a kind of a fill-in for Gunless when they were getting Prestinni, but he never got to play an official match. Then last year on OpTic Chicago, he just sat there on the bench effectively all year. And then this year, despite being a critical piece of building that great Texas Nation team that did a lot of great things, won, what, 7 Challengers events in a row, he's not even playing seemingly in Challengers for the rest of the season. Not really sure why exactly, but I decided to take a few months off, it seems. And yeah, I guess we'll get back into it next season, right? But as Rambo's saying, he's much better suited when you build a team around him as the main AR. Like if Scump or Shotzzy or seemingly iLLeY, if any of those 3 players had to step out for whatever reason, as we have seen, General is clearly not a good fit, right? As a main AR, he's not going to replace either with the SMGs. And even when he replaced the Flex, they had to get someone else, Prolute in this case, instead of General anyway, right? So it does kind of raise the question to me, like, is General really, you know, is he actually a good fit for the substitute bench on this team, right? Especially with what Rambo said right there, and potentially what that could mean going into next year as well, as to what their actual, what their full roster looks like, and whether, you know, General departs from this team or gets an offer elsewhere, or whatever the case might be. I kind of doubt that without expansion, but, you know, who knows, right? If he gets the Paris Legion offer, for example, to be there as their main AR, like, you know, would he take that, or would he stay on OpTic? I think that's an interesting question. And just to finish out the video with a couple of funny things here. Firstly from Crone, which pro or amateur has the worst gamertag in Call of Duty esports history? There's a few that come to mind, like, I mean, yeah, throughout COD history, I think Tupac Thug Lords, they're kind of at the, I mean, it's so bad, it's honestly funny. The Search and Destroy Analyst of Atlanta FaZe, that's got to be right up there. I remember, you know, what was his name? Was it Human Jesus? There was an amateur player called Human Jesus back in the day. Like, that was a good one for sure. I honestly think out of like kind of like famous pro players, Slacked is just terrible. Like that has got, I mean, honestly, it's just, it just makes you cringe even saying it. So those are kind of like one of my, maybe the 3 of my picks. I'm sure there was other ones that you guys are mentioning in the comments already. But I mean, yeah, Shane, I think, makes a fair point really about kind of the European community who rather likes to have their own names there. So like the likes of Tommy, like, you know, John, for example, I know he's not European side, but a lot of European players would do this an awful lot where their name would just be their first name. Shane, of course, taking kind of a self-dig at that one, but there's a fair few pro players who have kind of, well, gone down that route. Josh, for example, as well, another example from that region. Like, there's probably a few, okay, Yellow Beanbag's actually a like, quality name, I thought. And I'm already seeing some decent ones in the replies. We'll talk about Beans in a second. I mean, Simp is actually pretty bad. I mean, like, Simp wasn't so bad before Simp became a thing, but now Simp is pretty bad, to be fair. Like, I mean, yeah, maybe we've got, I mean, I saw Dave Penny, I think, done it. This is a funny one as well. Robbie B3319, like Robbie Beemin, like with the, I don't know what the 3319 was about. Dave Paddy, people don't seem to like that one as well. Like, John obviously isn't great either. I honestly think Llama God's kind of fire, but maybe I'm wrong about that one. So yeah, okay, here we go. Slack's big mentions. Love to see that. And then one of the players right now for the Toronto Academy Europe is literally called Beads, which is, I think Beads is kind of quality, but at the end of the day, it's maybe not the greatest name in the world. So he's like, yeah, you got me. But yeah, I thought it was funny anyway. Intrigued to your thoughts on all this type of stuff in the comment section below. Speaking of Beans, here's Scrappy55 for all of the beans. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button. Told you YouTube gods, this is a good video. Others like you should see it as well. And hope grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you guys as always. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.